Hi, everybody. Welcome to our webinar number 69 in the series. Hard to believe, but it's true, number 69. And as usual, we're having our share of technical difficulties setting up today's program. The presenter and slide, all see me.
We see you, John. We're just to make sure that you are the organizer as well. Is that right, John? Because we see you, we don't see the screen. We hear you, we don't see the
Coming up
screen.
with the screen.
Okay,
There's
perfect.
the
We see the
screen.
screen. You're good. You're solid. You're gold.
So if our audience only knew of the behind the scenes peek at
Yes.
pre-production, they sure everyone can relate, and go to webinar forever, long before we went to Zoom, and people chide me that we need to jump off this dinosaur called GoToWebinar, and every month I say I'm going to do that, but here we are. Welcome, everyone. Good to have you. Number 69 in our webinar series. Uri, when we started, both of us had hair, and long time ago. And we are joined today
I'm just fixing my lovely
Darragh.
locks here, John.
Shut
for
up.
making us feel bad, Darragh.
Yeah, Morris, put a lid on him, would you? So we've got joining us today, and we're all here. And good, Rebecca, you are here. We can see you, and hope the mic is working okay. Beautiful. So I was telling our crowd as we assemble, if they only knew the behind-the-scenes stress of technology and trying to get things set up. But here we are live. Rebecca, you were here. You're not here now. But we've got Darragh Fitzpatrick
I am here.
and Morris Tabush.
I'm here. Can you hear me?
Tabush Group. Yes, we can.
Okay, great.
And Morris and Darragh have done a couple of these webinars for us over the years. And
just a few.
Talking about their recent tech survey. And joining our conversation will be Rebecca Goodman-Stephens. And Rebecca, how are you?
I'm fabulous. How are you doing?
Oh, I'm sweating the technology. You know how it is.
You're also sweating because you're down in Florida.
All of our guest speakers. Well, yeah, Florida. Something always going on down here. And I'm just double checking my homeowner's insurance to make sure I'm covered as we commence the hurricane season. don't want to see a lapse in coverage. So glad you're all here. We will start formally in just a few minutes. We're going to run 60 minutes. Got a great topic. It's technology. It's on everybody's mind. How we're adapting to an artificial intelligence, bringing that to the business of law. And so we'll be talking about that for a good hour. And as always, we'll intersperse some polling questions. Folks love the polling data, the banter, and our fast pace. Uri, anything you want to say before we get started officially?
Yeah, it's a great community to have this conversation. It's very practical, but yet cutting edge. So this is going to be a good conversation. Good sources on technology that are practical is hard to come by. So I've always enjoyed this conversation with this group.
And as you know, as you can see, everyone, I'm a master when it comes to technology.
You're really renowned for that, right? That's your brand. John Remsen equals tech.
I tell people all the time, if you're relying on me for tech, we're screwed. So
John,
let's get started.
You know what I tell people all the time, John? I say I'm really thankful. It's because of people like you that people like us have jobs.
I know. You got to say, you know what? We know what's going on here. It's a big conspiracy that the IT people are getting together with Microsoft, and we know what's going on. Anyway, welcome, everybody. We're at the top of the hour, officially beginning our program. Our topic is revelations from the Legal Tech Survey, just completed by the Tabush Group, and tries to get an insight on how smaller mid-sized firms are evolving, adapting to the implementation of technology to the practice of law. So, Uri, how are you doing over there?
I am doing great. Good to see you, my friend. The last time I saw you in person was in Atlanta. How you recover, John?
We recovered. We got through it. Had a great program. Every year we say it's the best yet.
Yes.
But boy, there was a lot of energy, a lot of repeat visitors. Morris and Darragh were with us. And Rebecca, you're going to have to come down to Atlanta one time
I
soon.
know. I'm gonna have to do it
And
next year, I think.
you, we're going
Everyone
to
tries
bring,
to
I want to
recruit me
bring you on
down
our,
there.
I want to bring you on a panel, Rebecca, because I
All
think
right.
your role is an interesting one. CEO of a law
Mm-hmm.
firm, not an
Yeah.
attorney, and really
Mm.
empowered to make some changes. And I think
Yeah.
more and more law firms are looking at their C-suites and kind of intrigued by the model y'all have built at Moses Singer.
If you invite me
So
on a panel, I will have no choice. So
that's
that will
well,
be it. Yeah.
consider it done. The
Okay.
dates are May 6 and 7 in Atlanta.
All right.
So we've
Sounds
got
like a plan.
Darragh Fitzpatrick. I did these alpha by last name. And Darragh, Rebecca Goodman-Stephens, Morris Tabush. Darragh, tell us just a little bit about what you do, and then we'll go down the list.
So Morris and I are principals at the Tabush Group. Actually, just a big shout out to Morris Tabush. He founded and started the Tabush Group 25 years ago to this month. So a big round of applause to Morris. He's done amazing things. And he's an inspiration to me, and I just love working with him. And I'm so glad he's my business partner. So just a bit of a shout out to him there.
It must be
For
review
the ego
time, huh,
boost,
Darragh?
It's, we've built a lot together. It's been great. But we work with law firms to help them navigate how to leverage the best IT solutions at their practices so that they can focus on delivering the best legal services to their clients.
Okay, and we love the accent. Darragh's from Ireland. And are you watching the soccer? Is Ireland competitive? I have no idea.
We're not in it, unfortunately. The Scots are taking all the thunder at the moment. Although England will get some thunder now, hopefully today, Rebecca, right?
Yeah, hopefully.
There was this thing on one of the morning talk shows talking about, I think it was Boston, wherever the Scots are playing, and they ran out of beer. And that doesn't happen in Boston until the Scotch contingency shows up. So apparently they have quite an appetite. Rebecca, tell us a little bit about what you do.
So I'm Rebecca Goodman-Stephens. I'm the Chief Executive Officer at Moses and Singer. I've been in this role for 3 years and a few weeks. No one's counting. I'm having a great time, actually. It's super interesting. Basically, in my role, I lead strategy and execution. So really thinking about where the firm needs to be right now and where the firm needs to be in the next, let's say, 2 to 3 years. I think we used to think longer term. I think right now, in terms of how things are shifting so rapidly, I don't think anyone knows what's happening in 5 years. So that's really the mandate. And then in terms of practical terms, it's really breaking down how do we then get to where we need to be, right? Real digital transformation, thinking about how tech and AI can really transform the way that we deliver our services, how to enhance the client and employee experience, what kind of services we need to be getting ahead of and thinking about in this current landscape, because we also provide services around tech and AI. And then everything else to run a firm, right? What are the systems we need for finance? How are we thinking about what can we automate in each of these groups? What do we need to be thinking about in terms of talent attraction and retention? What's our talent model? All of that good stuff. So,
and
in
Rebecca,
a nutshell,
I gotta ask,
everything. Yes.
Where that accent? Where does that come from?
So I think I now sound South African or Australian, but I am from neither of those countries. I am originally from the UK. I've traveled to several different I've lived in Switzerland, German-speaking Switzerland, the south of France, Paris, and then here. So I think
Wow.
my accent equals survival and being able to order pizza, because if you want, but it's technically an English accent. Yeah.
I lived in Columbus, Ohio for a couple of years.
Yeah, you have a bit of a tang. Yeah.
So thank you,
So
Rebecca.
that's the accent. Yeah.
Appreciate your participation with us today.
My pleasure.
Morris, give us your the skinny on Morris Tabush.
Well, like Darragh said, and appreciate that ego boost, Darragh. Yeah, I graduated college 25 years ago and started Tabush Group right out of college 25 years and 14 days ago, for anyone who's counting. It's been an amazing journey. Technology has changed so much in 25 years. The types of clients we're focusing on, how we're helping them has changed. And kind of what's interesting is not only has technology changed, it's gotten so much more critical to business. It used to be that if the computers were down, oh, it's okay. As long as the phones worked, we were up and running. There's almost nothing that people do today that is not on that screen and keyboard. And the more you do, the more complex it gets, the more sensitive it gets. I mean, things are just changing so rapidly. It's amazing. But you know what? It's also, as much as we understand how this stuff works, I still am fascinated by all of it. And I love, engaging with new clients and hearing about new challenges and solving them. That's to me, this is still fun. Just get paid to do it.
Welcome. So before we jump in, upcoming programs we're presenting through the balance of the year here at Managing Partner Forum. We'll carry on with our webinar series on the third Wednesday. We've been pretty religious on that, Uri and I. I think we missed one in all of the 7 years or so we've been presenting these. So we'll be back in July. And then throughout the rest of the year on the third Wednesday, our archives on the website. I'll tell you a little bit about our next big in-person event, which is in Chicago in early October, empowering women in law firm leadership. And Rebecca, I don't know why we have to wait till Atlanta
Yeah.
to have you join our faculty.
Okay. I'm getting a lot of invitations. Wow. Okay.
I know. We're assembling it right now. We just set up an advisory
I
board.
feel cornered. I get invited to a webinar and now I'm traveling the world.
And we're determining our topics. So let me come back to you on that. But we're in the early planning stages. Soft registration is open. If you're interested, it will sell out. And like our main conference in Atlanta, it's very immersive, very interactive, lots of panels, lots of networking galore. And so check that out. Our weekly newsletter, we do some Zoom calls, and we're in the process of upgrading our website. Our Chicago program, here's a little overview, and you'll be hearing more about this in our follow-up and in our newsletter and such. Uri, set us up for today, please.
Yes, today's webinar, today's program, we have 50 managing partners and law firm leaders registered. All the survey results from the data when you registered, we'll be sharing today. We're doing other real-time polling as we progress through the program. And all that will be sent to you with the recording and the handout materials. So please give us your feedback after today's session. The program will close on your computer. A short survey pops up. That really helps us to hone in on delivering programs that will be most beneficial to you. So let's take it away, John.
And I want to reiterate the importance of your feedback. We do take it in, and what you like, don't like, topics, speakers, let us hear from you. And we pay attention, and we try to bring back topics and programs and formats that you tell us you like. So data, one of the big attractions to these programs, and this is our first of several live polling questions. And let's see if the tech guru can do this right. What do you think, Uri? Should we put money on whether John can handle this?
Yeah,
I
you've done
would.
this before.
I would 100%.
I vote
I
no,
mean,
right?
I
Of
vote,
course
yeah.
he can't handle the live polling. So this for our panelists' benefit, just to give you a sense of firm sizes represented on today's call. And as is typical, we fairly just keep voting, folks. Vote. It's primary season. Looking for your votes. Only about I'm still looking for votes.
So it looks
There
like the
we go.
majority is still in them.
There we
Oh,
go.
no, they're picking up.
We kicked in a few. It takes a few reminders. You know
Okay.
how it is, Rebecca, to get the lawyers to, show up.
Yeah, no comment on that. Yeah.
So here's our firm sizes, and that's fairly consistent. We attract to the program. When you're registered, I'll rattle through these, and then we'll turn things over to Darragh and Morris and Rebecca to take us through the tech survey. And Uri and I are going to pepper them with questions as we go. But when you're registered, we asked a handful of questions from the list below. Your biggest concern about the integration of AI. That's a horse race, Uri. I don't think we've ever seen results that close when we do these bar graphs.
We have not.
No, we haven't. So there's a lot of concerns from confidentiality, the billable hour implications, training up young lawyers, and hallucinated work product, to name a few. There's certainly more, but panel surprises on that.
Yeah, it's interesting to me because maybe some of the confidentiality concerns are such gating items, right? So from my perspective, we're using a closed loop solution that's completely secure, so I'm not really worried about that. I'm surprised that the loss of billable hours is not the top concern, because for me it's a huge concern, or opportunity, let's put it that way, of how we need to think about, it's great, we're more efficient, we're saving on time, but the typical law firm model does not reward us to be efficient. And we need to completely rethink our whole model. I'm not surprised about the training young lawyers. Pretty typical. I saw that also in the tax advisory accounting space. And I think there the discussion is really to get into the details and into the weeds of what do people really need to learn that's fundamental tasks that's going to get them to the next level, really? And what are things that we just want them to do because that's how we learned and that's kind of how we came up through the ranks. So I think having a really in-depth, challenging discussion around really what are the core skills you need to learn that you shouldn't push down to AI, and what are things that we can really, it's more of an emotional attachment to that task versus really it being fundamental to getting to the next level. So those are my high level thoughts.
What we're hearing, in our Zoom calls, managing partner Uri, you can probably speak to this. Is I think we've turned the page on the confidentiality, the hallucinated work product. We got to be mindful of that policy, but looking more down the road at the training, the staffing models, the pricing models we're going to be bringing to the market. So it's interesting how the conversation evolves. We asked this question at point of registration. And Morris, what do you recommend the firm overall approach? I know the answer, but how would you
What do I?
this from
What
how?
describe? Okay, what I recommend is really the first thing. To sum it up is a structured initiative. Make
Yep,
a plan. Don't
yep,
just go out. We're seeing too many firms, and I see this from clients. And I was with a peer group last week, and they said they see the same thing from their clients. Too many firms these days are just going off buying licenses, sending an email saying, "Hey, everyone, we just bought Harvey, for example. Here's your logins. Go ahead and use it."
Mm-hmm.
yep. I think a firm-wide approach as to where we're making investments and why, and making sure things are integrated. Uh, I see it too, Morris. Firms buy the latest shiny object and move on, and don't train people how to use it. And
Yeah.
boy, this stuff's
This
expensive.
this is bigger than email. This is bigger than when, electronic document management came out. You can't just buy it, throw it out there, and expect people to figure it out.
This is our final question we asked at registration, which was, has AI impacted productivity at your firm? We didn't define
Oh,
productivity.
I was gonna say before we answer that question, I'm gonna need someone
Mm,
to define what that
No, we
means.
didn't define it, but no one's
Mm.
saying it's impacting our productivity in a negative way. I think that is Rebecca's suggestion. We need to drill down a little bit. What is productivity? Is it profitability? Is it billable hours? Is it a profit? What is it? But
Yeah,
with
and can I
that,
add a point? I was just going to add a quick point on the prior question to what Morris was saying. Is I agree on a structured approach, and I think if you don't do it that way, not only is it a huge investment and obviously, a huge big deal for the firm and everything else, but you're also not looking at how you can learn from different practice groups. So when we did our pilot, it was fascinating we shifted gears and we basically ended up not doing it by practice group. We ended up doing it by type of task because I could do a synthesis of documents in the admin function. I could do the same thing in a litigation. I could do the same thing as a lease synthesis, right? So I think there's also a learning curve when you do things as a group that's interesting in this space.
definitely, we like the idea of the task forces. You know, throughout the firm, different offices, departments, and playing
Mm-hmm.
around with this stuff and bringing it back to the whole. All really interesting how firms are trying to figure this out. We hope to be a resource, and here's a great resource. A couple when you register, how do I convince people who are skeptical to
Mm.
embrace this? How do I convince senior partners that don't want to invest the dollars in the technology? Here's some great that is persuasive. So here we go. Morris, Darragh, whoever's going to take the lead, tell us what you got.
On the
All
slides, I guess.
right. I guess I'll give it a shot. I'll take the lead. So this was our 5th annual IT survey. It starts every December, closes mid-January. And this year you can see we had a lot of respondents, more than ever. You can kind of see the cutaway. It's primarily management, whether it's managing partners or firm admins, executive directors, CEOs that are answering our surveys. And it's primarily from firms that are in that, 26 to 100 employee range. Again, we have some bigger, we have some smaller. We had a really good set of data that we were able to pull from.
And that's the demographics in terms of titles, firm sizes.
Right. And so we always break up our survey into a few different sections, and those sections are sometimes changing. For example, we used to talk a lot about cloud was a big topic. Cloud kind of became an afterthought, a foregone conclusion. So I believe it was 2 years ago we added in AI, and 1 year ago we dropped cloud out of the mix. The first one we talk about is strategic planning, and this number has gone up more and more. Now we're up to 66% of firm leadership saying they meet with their IT partner, whether that be an internal or an outside party, on a regular basis. They don't just wait until there's a problem, but you still have, kind of close to 40% that are, well, yeah, we really only talk to the IT guy when the lights go out.
Morris, you said it's been trending up. Where has it been trending, and how quick has that ascension been?
Morris, just to correct one thing, it's only 43% are having regular scheduled meetings, actually.
Mm-hmm. Okay, well, it is trending up. I believe when we started the survey, it was in the high 20s.
Yeah, you're right.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I
remember last year it was shocking.
Yes.
Yeah.
I think firms have been slow on the uptake, to be honest, and it's all of a sudden, it's the number one issue.
I think it also highlights a question or comment of, AI and some of these more strategic topics. It obviously we need to include the tech team, but I also think leadership needs to be super involved in this, right? So it's not necessarily a tech-driven initiative; it's a tech collaboration.
Right.
The fact that people aren't really speaking to their IT teams is obviously turning.
And I think one of the reasons AI might be helping this is AI is one of those technologies that can have, I'll say, if it's used properly, it can have a positive effect. Whereas a lot of the other concerns, whether it's cloud or security, best case scenario is they don't have a negative impact. Best case with security is you don't have a breach. So because of that, too much firm leaders are not thinking defensively, or they're thinking, again, that just doesn't register high on their radar. And that's why they don't want to talk about it, unfortunately, until it's an issue too often. But AI, there's a huge opportunity.
Morris and I were just talking. Oh, sorry.
Go ahead. A major breach, and it took a wake-up call before they make the investment. And to be honest, I think their IT people are not up to the task. And I see that a lot. Maybe we outsource some of this strategic IT as opposed to the help desk, day-to-day stuff.
So I think
you see most of the strategic stuff coming from an in-house IT person or from kind of an outside consulting group like you guys.
There you go. So it's a mix, John. I think that what's happening, the trend most definitely is that outsourcing is becoming more widely used by law firms. Even with firms 200, 300, 400 people, we see that their IT teams generally stay 3 to 5 people, and then they're outsourcing expertise, leveraging firms that have industry expertise outside the four walls, we don't talk about four walls that often anymore, but the virtual four walls of their offices, because it's expensive, and that it's easier to get a broader, larger set of expertise from, say, a firm, not going to speak about our firm, but of a managed service provider, for instance, than it is to try hire that singular expertise within your office. And I think strategy falls into that. I think, John, you'd asked a question, just going back a slide a little bit, but you'd asked a question just before we jumped into these slides about, how do we convince people that are skeptical, or how do we get buy-in from people that maybe are not in tune with the latest technologies. And I think that's the biggest piece about the previous slide is it's like anything. John, when you're talking to your people about initiatives for the business of law, how do you talk to them about getting buy-in to the initiatives? What's the sole thing that you would have
I
formed?
think data,
Right.
and then finding your disciples within the firm who are going to embrace it and showcase what they're doing, and maybe it rubs off on others over time. But getting that little that beta team to help roll it out, and I think eyes start to open
Right, and
at
leadership, right?
practice group meetings, at the department meetings, at the whatever it is. It can be a slow build. I think
And it
forcing
comes from
people,
leadership, true, right?
absolutely. I think you
Yeah.
walk by example. You lead by example, for
So
sure.
if you look at the slide right in front of us right now, the things you said, leadership pushing, people are not meeting regularly about important subjects from a technology standpoint, even if that's emerging tech, it's not happening. KPI aren't talked about, it's not happening. There's no visibility into who's performing or who's leading. None of these things are going to move forward. Morris and I were just talking about being technologists at lunchtime. All right, so
I
when
look
the
at this
internet hit,
slide, Darragh, and look here.
yep,
Most important role of the IT team. Look where strategy is.
right,
It's
and
so
innovation,
focused
John.
on the day-to-day, help
Yeah.
desk stuff and reacting, more band-aids, more tape.
And
Let's
John, what
look strategically, I think.
what I see, I speak to a lot of IT directors at law firms, and what I'm seeing is the in-house teams of law firms. First thing they do is the day-to-day keeping the lights on, the 40%. At the bigger firms, and I'm talking about, a lot of this is in the Am Law 200, they've got that covered, and then they'll have a CTO or a head of IT, whatever the title might be, who's on the really high strategic application side of things. Smaller than those Am Laws, they typically just have that bottom half, that day-to-day covered. But the middle, the security, the monitoring, the maintenance, all the stuff that's required to make sure that there's always, juice flowing to the outlet, all the stuff that the electric company's doing, that's where the gap is most often. And that's most commonly what's outsourced. And then in the smaller firms, they're also outsourcing that high level strategic because they can't afford a really sharp CIO, CTO like the Am Law can.
But they're now, did you
Rebecca?
read, by the way, on a side, Kirkland and Ellis, did you see that $500 million they're investing in their technology integration? That came out in the legal press, 2 weeks ago? $500 million, Kirkland and Ellis. Whoa.
We'll take a piece of that if they're interested.
Well,
I'd be interested in what
Kirkland and Ellis doesn't waste money. That's a hell of
I'd be
an
interested
investment.
to hear what Rebecca has to say on the previous slide as well, John, because Rebecca, I know at Moses and Singer you take a leadership interest. One of your top priorities has been AI. I know that you look at the role of your IT team differently than these figures are showing. I think that you will slightly reverse that. You definitely have a broad inclusion process across the firm.
Yeah, so from my perspective and kind of speaking with other leaders through different organizations that I'm part of, whether it's YPO or Chief or other, AI implementation is really not just a tech thing. It really has to be owned. There's kind of several layers. It's, I think, tone at the top and being very much in the details at the top, which, is a bit counterintuitive. Typically, we really want to push it down. And then identifying partners within each of the areas to really be champions and to run with it in the day to day. But I do think leadership understanding and really understanding what you can do with the tool to help guide your teams to identify use cases, right? It doesn't mean I have to be, a complete genius in how to use Claude or Harvey or whatever else, but I need to understand what questions to ask and how we can break down tasks or look at things slightly differently, because certain groups might say, this doesn't apply to me. I don't see how this could work. And if the leader doesn't have some level of being able to challenge and question and bring a different perspective, then then that's it, end of conversation, right? So I think it's super important. I also think it's super important for leadership to be involved, to really cut through some of the things that can come up. Not to say that any firms on this call would have this issue, but sometimes a firm can have a partner who has a rogue conversation with a vendor, and takes on a demo and starts looking into a tool, and you have 3 or 4 of these things going on at the same time, and how do you organize that to look at things really holistically? It's not malicious, and the partners mean well and they're passionate and engaged, and that's awesome. But how do you look at it from a firm perspective in terms of, is there a tool out there that could maybe handle everything? Do we really need a discrete tool for a specific area? I'm really being able to look at that. So I think it's a highly collaborative process, but leadership needs to be very much involved. I also like to share surprises and things that I did not anticipate. Um, to a point that John made earlier about, I think he used the word senior partners, or more seasoned partners. I did think there would be a difference in terms of the generational approach to AI, and I've
but
been
not
blown
finding it.
away at how wrong I have been, right? We actually have extremely seasoned partners who are even, spearheading the initiative within certain of our practice areas. So yeah, I was wrong on that, and I'm really excited.
And I occasionally see that surprise where a senior
Yeah.
lawyer is, an octogenarian is engaged in this stuff and using it and loves it. And but often they're looking at, hey, I'm at the end of my career. This technology is really, really expensive. And every less dollar we put in the technology budget is one more dollar I get to put in my pocket as I go out the door. And fighting that fight, I find, is a difficult one. Um, just one more comment on the managing partner is, they got so much stuff on their plate, and we ask, what are your most important contributions in the leadership role? We ask that all the time. Then where do you spend your time? And now we got technology. What about a partner in charge of technology who's at the side of the managing partner, has voice, gets it? Because the managing partner can't do everything. And here's just one more thing that's popping up on my priority list. Hard to balance all these responsibilities. So I just throw that out. I'm going to take your cue on the slides here, guys, that you guys shared with us. So you tell me when to go or jump back as we go through this.
Yeah, so the interesting thing from a cyber standpoint is that confidence is increasing every year in the technology that's there to protect us and protect the firm. So individuals at the firm, clients that deal with the firm, and overall the firm and its business. What's interesting is that more or less the biggest concerns are still the same. They're just becoming a lot more focused on the individual. Morris, what's that saying you always say? You always say it's easier to hack.
Easier to hack a
Than the
person than to hack a
Than a
computer.
machine.
Yeah, and you can
And
see
still
that
true.
the big circles on the right, they're all about how do I compromise an individual. I mean, they use tech. Of course, we'll talk more about AI, and we have touched on it already. We all like to use AI for efficiencies and more effective business. Unfortunately, our cyber criminal friends say, let's use it for their efficiency and more effective business. So a lot of the training that we do on a quarterly basis, we've had to adapt to that, because telling people to look out for poor language, telling people to look out for badly written emails, telling for people to look out for things that don't look like they're from a certain bank, well, unfortunately, they all look really good. The language is good, the grammar is good, the graphics match what they're supposed to. So
it's
I think
getting better, isn't it, Darragh?
Yeah,
I mean,
it is. Yeah,
the AI tools that, boy, the cyber criminals are certainly putting them to work, and it all looks real.
I want to add
it's
something
clicking
in.
on
I saw a
this or that.
really good one just recently. We got a DocuSign that claimed to be from Chase Bank. And now this was a real DocuSign. It was from DocuSign.com. And we clicked on it and it had the Chase logo there. Just, we weren't expecting anything. We reached out to our bankers at Chase. They all said, nope, nope, nope. I said, all right, I'm going to play with this anyway. And I, went onto a separate computer and I clicked the link. And it really looked like Chase. I put in fake information of mine, fake social, fake mother's
Wow.
maiden name,
You're
whatever it asked
scamming with the
for.
scammers, Morris.
Oh,
Yeah,
this is what I get
so you're
paid to do,
playing the
Rebecca.
game.
And at the end of it all, it said thank you, and it just brought me to Chase's homepage. So again, they're finding ways to weaponize DocuSign, which is a trusted source.
Yeah, I think I received one nearly the exact same, purported to be from Zoom, Morris, this morning.
Yeah.
It looked very, very, very convincing.
I like the emails and the texts from the DMV that your license is about to be suspended unless you click here to pay your fine. And it's like, looks pretty real. I don't want to lose my driver license, you know?
That's a poor
But,
choice from the cyber criminal law, because nobody wants to deal with the DMV. That's never going to
right?
get anyone's attention.
I know,
We're
but you
just
know,
going
they're
to skip
just
right by it.
coming at you every which way, and what's real and what's not is more and more difficult.
So the gap that we're seeing, John, from cyber, and Mars, you could speak a little bit more, and Rebecca, you could speak to your experience here in the in your firm, is the gap is that there's there's a lot of confidence in what we're doing to protect from a technology and firm standpoint, training standpoint, but breaches are increasing, and actually even worse than that, their impact is higher. Because they're type of taking action in a different way. I like to call it straight to bank account. They're not interested really in breaching your system, taking a lot of time, scouting around, let's get your data, let's ransom you. They're more, let me get money into my bank account as soon as possible. And once that money is transferred, it's generally gone. And that's a higher return of rate of return for the cyber criminal, and it's a bigger impact to the bottom line for the firm. So that gap and confidence in our cyber is type of the data of impact and breach and cost is not reflecting that, unfortunately. Rebecca, what do you see at your firm, and have you had any type of thoughts?
So just to clarify, this is about the increase in cost to what? To tech, or I'm not clear on kind of what the premise is.
It's more what we found was people are leveling off their investment in cyber because they're very confident in the stack they have. Problem is that what we're seeing is that more people are reporting breaches and that the breaches are more impactful. So how do you balance that?
So,
yeah, I mean, it's an ongoing, the biggest weakness that I see, and this is maybe controversial because you guys are all tech people, right? So you're going to cut me off the webinar. Is it's not that, I mean, the tech is the tech, and most of it is pretty good safeguards in place at this point. I mean, there's pretty strong cyber and general kind of breach safeguards. Real issue is the people, right? I mean, that's the issue with a lot of things. And that's the weakest link. All you need is one partner who gets clicky on an email or on a link, and that's where the real risk is. So I don't really see it as much of a tech issue at this point. Right? I think it used to be a little bit more, but at this point, I think it's very much more an educational and, you know, a person issue is my perspective.
So, Rebecca, what are you guys doing at Moses Singer to educate your lawyers?
Threatening? No, education. Yes.
So how do you put out phishing emails?
We do. We still do that. I know that's controversial and somewhat, you know, some people think it's good or not, you know, there's discussions on that. We do that, and it does keep people on their toes. And we do it at times where people, you know, when scammers like to do things too, right? Like right before the holidays or right before, you know, where there's a sense of urgency or tax time, or they think they're going to get a bonus email from me, which you're never going to get. So we do, and then we, in a very kind and constructive educational way, kind of say, hey, you clicked on this, and you know, generally that effect lasts for a few months. So we try and do that regularly, and then we try and, you know, have just educational sessions on this topic. I think everyone's doing the same kind of things, right? But that's how we approach it. Obviously, the tech has to be airtight. Yeah.
One of the things we found that, and it's a good trend, is more people are now focusing on training, and bringing more visibility to the tech in use. In other words, showing people what's happening and giving reports to leadership, which is a very good thing. Of visibility heightens everything. So I think that one of the things that should happen more is, you know, reporting on what the security is catching, so that when IT people are reporting to their leadership, they're actually bringing data that says, look, we have good security in place, but we have risk in this area still, and it's ever growing. We need to do something about that. Here's a new tool, or here's some new training, or we need to move from automated to live training, or here's some repeaters. We need to do some focus training on these people. I think that IT leaders need to be better at bringing information the other way back to their leadership also, I think.
This
For
is
sure,
this
for sure. And I agree with that point from Darragh, and we get good feedback on how many breaches have we avoided, right? And what they look like, and all of that data is super helpful, and that can help with education too. I agree with that 100%.
fun fact.
I
Just
have
true
one
story.
more. I have one more just to add on that, which is I think that there's another aspect to the training, which is a culture, because it's true. The weakest link is people. Everybody said that, but we need a culture where when somebody does make a mistake, they tell people, and that's not at every firm, right? Where
Agree
you have a culture that somebody
1,000%.
goes, I made a
100%.
mistake,
Yes.
and that's
100%.
okay. And we're not going to fire you. We're
Mhm.
probably not going to fire you,
That's such an
but we need
important
to know that.
point. That's such an important point, and I think it's really key what you just said, because that's really around any level of risk management, right? If people don't feel comfortable
Yes,
flagging
exactly.
that there's a concern or an issue. And I think that's why we need to navigate how you go about some of the phishing, right? It's not about publicly shaming and embarrassing and kind of,
Right.
if someone makes a mistake, also to your point, Uri, it's about how you then handle that issue, right? So if we ever had an issue like that, how do you handle that? Do you say, okay, let's focus on action? What do? We need to check our outside counsel guidelines. We need to see what communication we need to make. It's all about how do we fix this, and not about
Yeah.
shaming that person. And I think there are lots of opportunities outside of this area where you can model, psychological safety and a great working environment so that people do feel comfortable saying, hey, I clicked on a thing that I shouldn't have clicked on. I think it's a hugely important point, Uri.
The point was
Rebecca, I
made
think
earlier
that
as well. Hone in on your people who are making the mistakes, and not everybody. We got policy to impact everybody for the behaviors of a few. Go to the few in private and help them through it. And just shaming. True story. Right after COVID, here comes the IT director at the firm retreat, and he wants a few minutes to talk to all the lawyers at the firm retreat about the importance of fishing and being on the lookout. And he's done some fishing expeditions, and he starts flashing up the pictures of the lawyers who had bitten on his fishes. I mean, there they are, and it's like, boy, do you want to keep your job, guy? Including the partner in charge of technology, who was preaching the loudest about the importance of watching what you click on, and here his face is splashed at the firm retreat as one of the fishermen. So I think uh, dealing with this in private among the people who are habitual offenders, perhaps.
And
You
Rebecca,
know,
I like when you said the term risk management because I feel like if business leaders looked at cyber as managing risk rather than managing and protecting using tech, there would always be a look um, at consistently reviewing if you're doing the right thing. I think when you look at a tech, I've got the 5 layers people tell me I should have so I can move quickly around.
here
Sorry,
we
go
got
ahead,
a
John.
polling question. This I fishes into. Which statement do you most agree with as to how AI is going to impact the legal profession? Meaningful, fundamental transformation. Uh, More incremental, meaningful improvements, but still, it's not going to totally transform the legal industry, or limited impact. Where do you what statement do you most agree with, audience? And here come mixed bag of results. We'll do our reveal in a minute. Um,
John, what do you think people are going to say?
I think they're going to say B, the second choice. I do.
Yeah, I'm leaning towards B also.
I'm surprised. I was gonna think more on the I can't see if it's A, B, or C, but the top one.
Yeah, same here.
Yeah,
Yeah, but maybe, I mean, it's good debate. We have to disagree, right? We forgot to debate this more.
absolutely. We got to keep it entertaining.
Yeah, I'm
Uh,
surprised actually that it's more in the middle than on the top there. I'm really surprised about that.
I thought as well the opening question where we talked about confidentiality. I can't remember the second point, but it was more a technical use concern. Right,
hallucinations.
hallucinations, and then there was billing, and then there was training for associates. To me, that type of balance, like 25, it was all around 25%. That balance to me paints the picture that people are moving on from AI being a tool that they're going to use with limited impact to seeing it's going to improve how services are delivered. But now people are thinking, wait a second, this isn't just going to improve how I deliver service. This is actually going to change fundamentally aspects of how we operate as a law firm. And that's why people are concerned about training. That's why people are concerned about the billable rate, because I think if people think that we're going to work the same way we work as a law firm, even ourselves as an IT provider, if we're not looking at it being transformative, I think we're going to miss the boat. I do think, though, that there's a great statement I heard called "There's nothing wrong with being first to be second." I like that statement as well. You don't have to be
we
leading.
heard a lot of that in Atlanta. Nobody wants to be first. Nobody wants to be first.
But I do like that statement.
It's bleeding edge versus leading edge, right? Exactly. Like it's that whole concept. But I mean,
the risk
I think I mean I agree with Darragh, although we're supposed to be arguing about this, but I agree. I think it really is gonna. It already is. It's not going to. It already is fundamentally transforming the law firm industry in the sense that, let's be real here, our clients have access to these tools. They are coming to us with an already somewhat finished product. I'm not saying it's great. I'm not saying it doesn't require still work. I'm not saying we don't still have a very important, crucial role, but we are constantly having to go upstream and kind of identify where the higher added value services are and how we're going to compete with our clients to some extent, right? So that's already a shift. There's a shift in, the whole talent model in terms of, the lower level associate, the younger associates, that they used to have a very specific role that really is radically shifted. All of that is already happening. And I think we're already fundamentally in a transformation right now. Not to be dramatic, but I do think that's the case.
I agree, Rebecca, but I think it's just starting. I think we're still in the very early stages of this, and there are opportunities for firms to leapfrog competitors in a big, big way, because I don't think you want to wait too long before you start to pay attention to this stuff, because catching up is going to get more and more challenging.
I mean,
we got some data around that toward the end of the show.
I mean, for firms who are not yet using AI in any capacity, I would say that's, that's definitely late.
Yeah, a little bit. But lawyers. So any comment to this slide? We asked about productivity a little earlier among our registrants. Any comment before we go to our next polling question, folks?
I mean, I'll say this. There's no question AI will allow you to get more done in less time. The question that everybody's asking about productivity, does this mean that you will get more done in the same amount of time, or are we just going to leave work early every day? That's the magic question.
That's the question. And what are we going to do with the additional time that we now have, right? Is that to go and bring in new business? Is that to go and identify new ways we can help our clients spend more time with our employees? And do we have the right people to do that, right?
I went on ChatGPT as we a few minutes before we started to list the top 5 law AI services by market share. And here's what a ChatGPT generated for us. And we find when managing partners to get together, they're very interested in knowing who's using what. Are you happy? Would you recommend it to other firms? So we'll let this is, I think, an important one. Any comments? Let me ask you, Morris, among these services, what are you hearing generally in your travels?
What we're hearing is we're not hearing one specific favorite. What we are hearing are 2 big themes, and we heard a lot of this at some of Uri's events that he ran. Number 1, people are only signing 1-year contracts, and number 2, prices are negotiable. And we encourage both, especially the 1-year contract, because while RV may be the hottest thing right now, who knows what could be in 6 months. Let's not forget that OpenAI and ChatGPT was the leader in LLMs until it wasn't. And now it's Claude. And who knows what it's going to be in 6 months from now. So don't lock yourself into a 3-year auto-renewing contract with any vendor.
I definitely agree with that. Definitely agree with that. And that's in line with how we've looked at AI. It really, people are calling it a rental market right now. And if you look at how quickly one provider has kind of evolved versus another, like it's even weekly at this point, it's quite shocking. So I 100% agree with that.
I think this poll is interesting. Oh, sorry.
in our little
Rebecca,
managing.
how are your people going to react in a year from now, or maybe even sooner, where you say, okay, it's not Harvey, it's Westlaw, and it's not Westlaw, we're going to iManage. You think people
Okay.
in your firm are going to just roll with that?
Now
What
you're
do you
making me
think?
be a hypocrite. I'm going to have to now contradict myself. So I do think it's a rental market, and I've said this to the different providers
Okay.
because I'm very much out in the market looking at all of the tools and how they're evolving. I
Okay.
do, however, believe that there is a certain stickiness to these tools,
Yeah,
right? So,
I would
you know,
imagine.
you start if you're using them the right way and you're creating vaults and you're using them on large data sets, there would have to be a very compelling business case for me to move.
Okay.
However, it's psychological. I know that I can move if I wanted to. The
Yeah.
likelihood of
Got it.
really moving, there'd have to be a significant, feature that really is a game changer that would warrant me saying to everyone, okay, guys, you're gonna have to recreate your vaults in another tool. Or the other tools would have
Mm-hmm.
to figure out how to really seamlessly transition right
Mm-hmm.
from one tool to the other. So yeah, I'm a bit of a
Yeah.
hypocrite in saying what I said, but I do still think it's a rental market, and I still psychologically wouldn't want to be tied into one tool just in case.
I
Yeah.
think
Yeah,
what's
that
interesting with the poll, actually. Oh, sorry, Yuri.
Go ahead.
I think what's interesting with the poll is it's type of showing how people are moving through their experiences with with AI, leaving out the LLMs. Um, Lexis Lexis Plus AI and Westlaw AI, two products that people, I mean, Lexis and Westlaw are two products that most law firms or many law firms have been using in different capacities. So the easiest move for people to do was let's buy the AI within the products that we own. That iManage was the same thing. Harvey and Nexel are dedicated new AI products. So there's a smaller majority taking that next step. And I think that's a good thing. I think learning how to use the LLM, expanding the product that you have, experiencing the AI, how they're leveraging AI is a good next step. And then the next step is taking a purpose-built AI product, that's legal specific. And I think Harvey is probably the leader there, Agora being the next one. So I think the journey of the poll is actually showing the journey of most firms.
Well, I think the tech show up Legal Week up in New York, 3 floors at the Javits Center of vendors, half of which
Yeah.
you've never heard of
I
before, and I think there's going to be tremendous consolidation
I mean,
here.
there's a slide out there, right, that is mind-boggling. I saw it at the Harvey event. There's a slide, hundreds of this legal tech, and that's what kind of got me thinking, what's this market? Who are they pitching to? And it became clear to me it's our clients and everyone else who has any level of legal work to get done,
Well,
right? So there has to be consolidation.
There's also
consolidation, and I think LexisNexis, Westlaw are going to buy most of them. Law firms showing their risk aversion. These are the products we know. They won't hallucinate. That's not true. Westlaw will hallucinate, so will LexisNexis if you're not paying attention. So,
Mm-hmm.
I think there's safety in going to the default LexisNexis or Westlaw, and these new players. It's really interesting, and I agree 100% in Atlanta. That was 1 year, 1 year. It's moving too fast. 1 year, beta groups. Uh, train your people how to use these tools if we're buying them.
Yeah. The good thing, a lot of the good things are if you train your people how to use one tool and you switch to another, the training stays.
Mm-hmm.
Once you learn how to write code in one language, you could pretty much pick up another language fairly quickly. The big term that I'm hearing lately is vaporware, and that could refer to two things. Vaporware are companies that are here today, gone tomorrow, or existing products. Let's take an iManage as an example that are saying, we're adding AI into our product. And they put a little search box up in the top right corner, but it doesn't do much. It's just there. And as long as you pay
Right.
to use it.
By the way, I wanted to ask you guys, is there a difference between co-counsel and this Westlaw
Precision?
AI Plus that's come up?
Yeah.
Those are different
Yeah,
products, yeah?
different products. So Westlaw Precision or Westlaw AI, that's integrated
Precision.
into that platform, and then Co-Counsel is the equivalent competitor to Harvey and Legora, previously known as Leia, right? So two different tools, and Harvey has Lexis integrated into it, that kind of helps give you a head start on research, which is the equivalent a little bit of how Co-Counsel works with Westlaw. You still need to go back into the research tool to do more in-depth research, but it gives you a head
Boy,
start in terms of where do I look.
Boy, we're hearing
I,
as well very mixed reviews on Westlaw's products. Some people love it. Some people have not had good experiences with it. That's
but I
just
think, John,
what we're hearing.
that's like I would say, Rebecca, don't you think that really what's happening is we're going to have a transformation into being a full-time AI product, and that's
Yeah.
where the differentiator is right now. And I think, John, the experiences are, you were always searching for data in Westlaw, and people are wondering if they're getting better results when they're using the co-counsel
Yeah.
AI layer on top. And also, I think there's an expectation that it should never be wrong,
Yeah.
which is never going to be the case. It's
Correct.
artificial intelligence, even the
Which
most
is the good
intelligent person.
news in
Yeah,
a
right. But
way.
even the most intelligent person in the world, right, makes mistakes. So
Excuse me?
artificial.
Speak for
gotta
yourself,
fact
Darragh.
check their work.
That's
I've
rude.
heard,
Rude.
I spend more time fact checking the work I thought I was saving time on, and at the end of the day, it's a net, same. So the fact
Yeah.
checking piece.
I mean, the
I got
tools are very comparable, right? I mean, at this point, they're all doing a great job. There's, you could, I always say, like, you really can't go that wrong if you choose any one of these tools at this point. It's still going to significantly improve how you're working. It's still totally, addresses the security issue, right? If you have your partners using ChatGPT, we all know people are doing what they're doing, right? So you can't really go that wrong on those three main tools.
I'm
We have a
looking at the
poll.
time, and we've got 9 minutes
We
left.
got to stop
Here's our
talking.
last polling question, which is what initiatives from this list has your firm taken to implement AI within the practice? And you can click all that apply the way this question is formatted. We've got a task force, a leadership committee, we've got policy, we're doing the training. We're starting to measure ROI and productivity and
Like
the
whoever
AI
clicks on that
impacts.
one, I want their number.
Nobody yet.
No one's daring. Yeah.
So Rebecca, when we figure it out, let's start. Let's go make $1 million here. So here's what we
Yeah.
got to that question. And Rebecca, you've shed a little light on what you've been doing at your firm.
Yeah.
What do you want to emphasize from
I would
this
just say, look, I
slide?
think it's great. The AI Leadership Committee is kind of the equivalent in my mind of what I did with the pilot. I think the ultimate goal in my mind is for it to become completely integrated within all of our practice areas. So I think that has a limited time period, and I don't love it being kind of a standalone committee. I think that's how you kick it off, and then I think it really then has to become a part of what you do. The AI use policy, to me, that should be 100%. Like, if we don't have a
No brainer.
policy in place of like how we are using this and the guardrails around it, I mean, that's red flags, red flags. Like, that's surprising to me. AI training, the way I feel about training, it changes so quickly from one week to the next. I think this is like, I'm nitpicking on the words here, but I would just say it's like use case updates of like, how can we use it now? What does it do now? It's a very, non-static topic. So really staying ahead of that is key. And the AI tools into specific workflows, I mean, that should be hand in hand with, that should be absolutely how you look at it and how you roll it out throughout a firm is, what are the areas that we think that we can use this on and how do we create specific workflows? The one that stands out that I was joking about earlier is obviously how to measure ROI or productivity. That's
Right?
the big, big, big question. And it's not just measuring it, it's then, well, what do we do with this time back on our hands? And I think, that's where I'm spending most of my time now thinking about is, okay, this is great, but how do we need to rethink our business model? And, it makes us scalable, which is great, but then you have to be able to scale. So,
I
yeah.
like start simple. Start simple. I think a lot of law firms start with too much and overwhelm themselves. And really prioritize. Put people in charge. Start it easy because stumbles are costly. I think
Yeah. Well,
stumble
take an
at a time.
example, right? Look at a group that really you think this would be great. The people who are eager to try, let's put in place one workflow, and then you can use that as an example that you can generalize across other areas. I think that's a really good point, John.
A few more data points and then some closing announcements. This is our Atlanta program. We had 125 folks down, and we get a lot of repeat visitors from all over the country, Canada. We asked.
Sean, could you put the slide up? Could you put the slide up?
What slide?
We're looking at the results from the last poll.
Oh, sorry, close poll. There we are. Yeah, this is at our conference in Atlanta that we do, and we do the live polling technology with a room full of live people, most of whom are managing partners at real law firms. And we asked, here's an overview of our participants, and we asked, are your clients? This is about 6 weeks ago, 125 firms from all over the country. Are your clients starting to come to you with questions about how your firm's using generative AI? 2 years ago, this bar would have set squarely on the floor of this graph. But more and more clients are starting to come and ask. Engagement letters. Hurry, there should be some language, right? You're the risk management guy. Shouldn't there be some language? Look at your
Absolutely.
policy
Cover your
very closely, your policies around AI and cybersecurity.
I actually had an interesting conversation with someone, John. It's a little bit on the flip side of this question, but it was with an attorney, small firm, but does a lot of fixed fee legal services. And she put in her agreement now that, I'm going to use Rebecca's term because I love it so much. It was called pre-chewed work. If clients come to her with, or her law firm with pre-chewed work, she says she's not doing fixed fee work. She's going to start billing you hourly, and we're going to unravel what you did. You're not getting the fixed fee work. So either park what you gave and let the expertise for fixed fee.
I like her, whoever she is.
I'm charging you extra to unravel the craziness that you just brought me, which, I mean, it is a great red line, and I thought it's interesting.
I think that's great. And I think sometimes it really is craziness. It's like when I go to the doctor and I think I know what's going on and I kind of tell them what needs to happen and they're like, all right, lady, calm down. Sometimes it really isn't though, right? And that's what we're going to have to navigate is when they come, when a client comes to us and says, hey, I've done, because it's, they themselves are attorneys and house counsel, right? And they know how to review and navigate this. Sometimes it's really quite good pre-chewed work, right? So I think, that's what we have to navigate. And I agree with that approach. I like it in terms of, if I have to redo, it's easier to write from scratch an employee manual, for example, than to, make tweaks on one that already exists. I could see that being an issue, but sometimes it really is quite good what comes to us. And we have to really rethink how we recoup some of those hours, how we get more business and what that looks like.
When it was just an interesting take on it. I've already self-diagnosed. I've got the WebMD report, and I know exactly what medicine I want because I've been seeing it on the TV news every night.
Exactly.
Right?
I know what I'm talking about. Yeah.
Review this lease and sign it. So I'm looking at the time. We're almost out. Overall, your research this year, guys, any big surprises that's jumped out that you want to call to us before we call it a program?
I think the poll is not as reflective of what Morris and I see out in the industry in terms of being as prepared. I think a lot of firms that we come across are still overawed by just the largeness of AI.
They know the wave is coming.
Yeah, and getting to grips with it, I think they're stuck a little.
They know they need to do something. They're just not sure what that thing is. And that's what we're starting to work, starting to talk to firms about and helping them figure out, okay, let's put a plan together.
I think that's one thing we're seeing.
This graph in just about every AI presentation, and where's the legal industry on this curve compared to other industries, as all the other professional services like accounting and banking and architecture and engineering. Law firms traditionally lag, and
don't have a choice here though, right? This is a different context. I feel like in this context there's so many pressure points from the ecosystem that even if traditionally we would have been laggards, I think that in this situation we're probably in the middle somewhere, whereas typically we'd be. Yeah,
I agree with that, Rebecca. I think that it's the quickest change from a technology standpoint I've seen it being uptook in the law firm industry for sure.
I think go talk to your clients. They're your top clients. If they're not coming to you, you take it to them because we're all trying to figure it out. When we were in New York, Rebecca, at Uri's most recent program, we had those panels of general counsel.
Yeah, great.
My outside counsel isn't coming to me. I'm trying to figure this out. Boy, if firms would come and partner with us to try to
I think that's a really
integrate
important
this,
point that we can leave this
you
off
know?
of, right? I think that's a great point is, we could see it as a threat, or we could see it as an opportunity where we can be really
Opportunity.
those
Right.
trusted advisors and take our clients through this transition. But to do that, we need to be informed on what's going on, right? So
It's been a pretty solid chart since we've been doing the webinars. AI's gotten top of mind, and I think, Uri, our advice here is pretty unwavering. Be strategic, jump in, the policy, the training, what platforms, all that good stuff. We've kind of talked about much of it today, and we're just beginning. Next month, we'll be doing our webinar on July 15, the day after Bastille Day, and we'll do the recording. And we want to thank our friends. I put a French flag out in front of my house for Bastille Day, and a Canadian flag for
okay,
Canada
that's an
Day.
interesting choice. Yep.
Some of my neighbors don't like it, but it's not a Trump flag. I'll tell you that.
No comment.
Event,
We've done great so far. We're leaving.
Yeah, I was just about
I
to say.
couldn't resist.
Wrap it
Thanks,
up,
guys.
Remsen. Wrap it up.
Yeah. The grenade had to be launched.
Uri's
before
like,
we left.
no. Yes.
Signal's getting cut now, Remsen.
I can't help it. Here's how to find us. We'll send you the follow-up and the data. And thanks for being with us, everybody. Good
Thanks,
to be
everybody.
Thanks,
Thanks,
guys.
everybody.
Thanks so much,
Bye-bye.
John.
Thanks.
Thanks, Uri. Thanks,
Bye, y'all.
Rebecca.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye.
Bye. Bye-bye.